He can't lose the first game to a Pac-12 team, right? He can't.
On today's Odd Coaches podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis preview the ACC and Big Ten college football conferences, as well as discuss college coaches' salaries. Welcome to today's show. Dr. Keith Adams is the president of the CKA Save Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. He is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college levels. He has won numerous championships and epitomizes professionalism. Coach Mike Franchise Francis is one of the most successful football and basketball coaches in the state of Maryland. He too is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college level and is self-admittedly a little rough around the edges. Both men have mentored countless student athletes, teachers, and coaches using their unique methods and approaches to leadership. Both men also share a unique and special friendship that was cultivated often through their unique perspective of life and leadership. Dr. Adams through his extensive educational background and Coach Francis through his life experiences. Can these two men share a podcast without driving each other crazy? Welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am Dr. Keith Adams, founder and president of the CKA Save Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. And with me today, as always, is my tag team partner, my Brutus Beefcake to my Greg Valentine on the Dream Team, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis and Franchise. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. Doing well.
This shows a portion of a series that we are doing this year on the previewing of college and pro football for the 2021-2022 season. We're going to break down each major conference along with in the NFL, each major division, give our thoughts, ideas, and predictions, and also introduce our viewers to Dr. Adams' side hobby of amateur sports betting. As a quantitative researcher, I got into betting and numbers and quantitative versus qualitative and mixed methods. So we're going to have a lot of fun this year. And on today's show, we are going to preview the ACC along with the Big Ten and talk a little bit about college coaches' salaries. So to start off with the ACC is broken into two divisions, the Atlantic and the Coastal. So, Coach, I'm going to give you the predicted order of finish from the Atlantic from the Athlon Sports preview book. We're going to use that as our base. Hopefully next year they'll be our sponsor, but that's another story for another day. And we're going to go top down. And it is projected that Clemson will be in first place, North Carolina State second, Boston College third, Free Shoes University, Florida State University fourth, Louisville fifth, Wake Forest sixth, and the Syracuse Orangemen as seventh. And tell me, with your level of expertise, because you are a coach extraordinaire, what are your thoughts on the Atlantic Conference of the ACC?
Well, Clemson I expected. Definitely. NC State I didn't. I know they were 8-4 last year, 4-4 in conference. The thing that I get lost on this season, I'm a little behind on who stayed, who went, how did COVID affect the programs. So honestly, outside of maybe 1 and 2 of each one of these conferences, you can expect the rest to take a leap if they've kept everyone at least. But Dabo Swinney has that thing going down there. Their strength and conditioning program training is extremely top-notch, and that's what separates most of these schools, honestly, resources there. I'm a little shocked at Syracuse being so low because I thought they were starting to turn the corner. Like, I've seen them play in the last couple of years, and I thought they were starting to turn the corner, and Free Shoes, Florida State University.
Shows our age, my friend. It shows our age.
Oh, I call it Dion University.
Don't call him Dion. It's Coach Sanders, but that's another story. Don't disrespect him.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Coach Sanders doing a great job himself. So, but yeah, I see most of that acting out. I'm really shocked at NC State being that high.
All right, so we're going to move to the Coastal with UNC being number 1, Miami 2, Virginia Tech 3. Shout out to Stacy Smith, Virginia Tech super fan and a very good friend of the show. Pittsburgh 4, UVA 5, Georgia Tech still transitioning from 3 yards in the cloud of dust 6.
Oh my God.
And Duke is 7, but shout out to Duke, former high school buddy of mine, Percy Moore. His son is a recruit there playing quarterback, and hopefully in the next couple of years we can see, I believe it's Jordan Moore, but don't quote me on that. But what are your thoughts on the Coastal Division?
I think the UNC, I think Miami's going to end up winning that. I do know that from, I watched a lot of, I've paid a lot of attention to Miami. I see Miami overtaking UNC in the Coastal Division. Pittsburgh, I think, is going to take a leap as well. So if I'm doing it, I'm doing Miami, Pittsburgh, UNC. I even got Pittsburgh being over top of North Carolina. It just seems that late in the season, North Carolina finds a way, they find a way not to get it done in tradition, usually. So, but with Mac Brown, I don't know maybe he's put together the remedy that is going to solve that, because he is a tremendous leader and they have a great program.
Now, I do have to ask you, Coach, because this kid's on the cover of the magazine, and I will not say I am an expert, because when I get to the gambling, it's based on data. But they tell me this Sam Howell kid is a first-round pick, and he's a game changer, and he is on North Carolina. So based on my numbers, man, I've got North Carolina up top, because there's no need to talk about the Atlantic Division because it's Clemson and everybody else.
Yes.
But any thoughts on this Sam Howell? Because that's what they keep telling me, that this kid is special.
He is special. He's dynamic. And he's a kid that in years past, I say tradition and programs past, I couldn't see him going to a North Carolina. There's certain talent and certain kind of kids that just don't go to that program like that. But he's tough. He's dynamic. He reads well. He's a good leader. He'll have his offense like rocking and rolling. That's the thing about it. And I can't remember the last quarterback at North Carolina that was really like that. But this guy,
wasn't that Mitch Trubisky? He's from North Carolina.
Okay, all right.
I could be wrong, because I'm throwing out names like I know.
As I was saying, this kid is more of the guy in Seattle. Damn, it's early.
Russell Wilson?
He's more of a Russell Wilson type to me than anything. That's what I see from Sam Howell. And you see what Russell did, and when he transferred and made it even better, made his team even better. But yeah, this is the kind of kid that this is.
So on my end, the non-conference games to watch, September 4th, Clemson versus Georgia, and that should be a humding-dinger.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, who do you have in Clemson versus Georgia as we make our predictions and put them in the can and come back to them and let everybody make fun of us?
I'll tell you right now, I got Clemson in that. That's going to be a slobber knocker, but I got Clemson over Georgia.
I think I will take Clemson in the money line that day, but we'll talk about that on another segment. And then we also have on September 4th, Miami versus Alabama. The best pick over the last 5 years has been Alabama in the points in the first half. So, again, for another show at another time, we'll talk about that. But what do you think? Does the U have a shot against Alabama?
The U does not have a shot against Alabama, and strictly for entertainment purposes, Alabama and the line.
Oh man, I got to tell you, when I used to teach social studies, our football teams at various schools I was at weren't very good, and we kind of knew that the outcome was predetermined. So I created this system that was 1/2 the square root of pi base times height, which makes absolutely no sense. But using that formula, I would pick a game and pick the score. And knowing every week that I was going to be wrong, I would say, I don't like to say this very often, but I slap the desk, guarantee a victory. Have I been wrong before? Kids would yell out, yes, every week. Well, then you won't be disappointed if I'm wrong again, because it is strictly for entertainment purposes only. So I'm glad you mentioned that, sir, because on September 5th, that is a big opening weekend for me, putting down $10 each game, winning 9, and the wife laughing at me. Notre Dame, who should be in this conference, but they're not, will go against Florida State University. And is it finally time for FSU to come back?
No, not versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame, with tradition and what they're doing, they're going to be okay. I think they win this game. I don't know what the line is for entertainment purposes, but offhand, I'm going with Notre Dame. If the line moves or is feasible for Florida State to do, that'll be another conversation for another segment.
And then the last 2 non-conference games that we're going to talk about, October 30th, you've got UMC versus Notre Dame. And again, UMC is supposed to have this first-round draft pick going against Notre Dame. And shout out to Jake Schaller, my biggest Notre Dame mark. Great friend, former sports writer. Who do you have in the preseason? UNC versus Notre Dame.
As I look at it now, I think UNC pulls it off. I think UNC beats Notre Dame on the 30th. Mr. Howell will have his offense clicking and going at that point. So barring injury, he will definitely, they'll get it done. UNC get it done. Go Tar Heels.
Okay. And the final non-conference game to watch, the University of Virginia will go travel, if I'm not mistaken, to BYU. If UVA's coach used to coach at BYU, so we've got a little bit of something going on there. What's going on? What do you think about UVA versus BYU?
Strictly because my boss is from BYU, was all-conference All-American at BYU, and he listens to this. He knows I'm not going against his alma mater. I'm going to take BYU. Their program's pretty good, the way they develop everything. With guys going on missions and their rules. There's strict rules out there. So the fact that they can make it to play, honestly, it takes a strong individual to be a part of that program. So I think BYU beats UVA.
All right. So as we are about to close, the projected major bowl teams in the ACC. The ACC is a 2-team conference, and it's really one, and then this other team's going to come through. So Clemson's going to be a major player all year, and I think Coach Adams, Dr. Adams, thinks North Carolina is going to be a major player. Who do you have as the projected major bowl teams, Coach Francis?
Are there any others? No. I'm just saying.
You keep telling me about Miami like they're going to do something.
Yeah, man.
It's 2021, not 1991.
Say the U is an L now.
I am glad this is not on video. Any final thoughts before we close out the ACC, my friend?
No, not at all. Clemson, major bowl team. UNC, major bowl team. But don't count out Miami, please. Don't count out Miami. And again, I like Pittsburgh, so we'll see.
All right. That is the ACC preview from the Odd Coaches podcast.
The vision of the CKA SAVE project is to use the combination of academics and athletics as a catalyst to lifelong success. Thus, the CKA SAVE project works to improve student-athlete academic and athletic performance by assisting student-athletes with transitional and transferable skills such as time management and organizational skills, along with the ability to self-advocate to help improve performance. However, we cannot do our work without the help of supporters like you. Consider donating to the CKA Save Project. We accept tax-deductible contributions in a number of ways, including Venmo and Cash App at CKA Save Project, or directly at the main page of our website, www.ckasaveproject.org. Simply click the donate button. We thank you in advance for your continued support.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast on our special college football preview series. And in this segment, we are going to preview the Big Ten. And the Big Ten is broken into East and West. And what we like to do is share who Alton Sports, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, it's Athlon Sports. Sorry.
Athlon Sports, yes.
We're using their preview editions for all of our predictions and so forth, because it's actually well done, and I've looked at it over the years. And again, hopefully in the next year or two, they actually like us and help fund us. But the Big Ten is broken into East and West. So in the East, number 1 is Ohio State. Number 2 is Penn State, order of projected finish.
Yes, sir.
3, Indiana. 4, Michigan. 5, Maryland, fear the turtle. 6, Rutgers, do they still have football? And 7, Michigan State. Shout out to Jesse Losnick, AP extraordinaire, who is a Michigan State aficionado. So, Coach, with those 7 in the East, what are your thoughts?
Ohio State probably will be one of the top 2. Penn State, man, shout out to Franklin, man. Shout out Coach Franklin. He does a hell of a job at Penn State. He did a hell of a job at Vanderbilt. He did a hell of a job at Maryland. I really, really hoped that they were going to name him when he was at Maryland. Him and Loxley both were there together when everything went down with Coach Friesian. So shout out to Penn State. Their staff is amazing. They do a great job. They recruit this area very well. And I won't go into comments that was made during the lunch that I had with another head coach on this list. But I would stay there. Indiana, I don't know about. Michigan, they find a way to disappoint every year. That's just, I just, like
$9 million or whatever it is.
It's just crazy. It's just funny how this is. And every year, everyone gets amnesia and forget that they lost last year. And this year, Michigan is ready. Tom Lemon told my son, say that Notre Dame is recruiting you. It's going to make your stock go up. I think that college football reporters and prognosticators always have to mention Michigan and put Michigan out there to make themselves credible, even though Michigan will end up losing it in the end anyway. But, there's certain things you just got to do. For college football, I think Michigan is that. Everybody has to say, Michigan. But anyway, Maryland right behind them. I'm hoping Maryland jumps up. I love Loxley, man. I think that we should support him. I think that and this is a sidebar, as African-American coaches, we always want the job and we're pushing for people to get the job, but we don't support each other when they do. And if I ever get a guy who's good enough, well, we have one kid there now, shout out Malik Jackson. He's a tight end at Maryland. But any player I have that's ever good enough, if Coach Loxley comes looking at, I'm going to encourage. And I don't usually tell kids where to go, but I think Coach Loxley's a good dude. I really liked him. I had a good relationship with him. My family has a good relationship with his family. And I'm hoping for the best for Maryland. And I would believe, looking at this, Maryland could end up number 3. And I'm not, just thinking about Indiana and Michigan. Maryland could end up in number 3 in the East. And that's just my opinion. Rutgers, let's move on.
Greg Schiano's back, if I'm not mistaken. It's Greg Schiano.
Michigan State, let's move on. Let's go.
All right. So now that we've got the East, let's mention the West. Okay, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Northwestern, Nebraska, Purdue, and Illinois. Who is the king of the hill in the West? Athlon Sports has Wisconsin. What does Coach Franchise have?
is there even another team in the West? I mean, I'm looking at
every year. I keep hearing Kirk Ferentz name for NFL jobs. They love this dude. Again, I don't know him, but every year he's in the mix for NFL jobs.
And that like every year, Michigan's in the mix for a bowl. I mean, that's my point. Some things people just have to say. Kirk Ferentz. His players hate him. Like you've seen the comments and everything that's going on out there. I don't buy into Iowa. Never do. Wisconsin, yes. Northwestern. I think if anyone moves higher than 4, like where they got them pre-season, watch out for Northwestern in that conference in the West. Watch out for Northwestern.
So we're going to go to non-conference games because that's where I kind of use my amateur gambling prognostication ability. Again, strictly for entertainment purposes. September 11th is a two-game, two-pinch non-conference pack with the Big Ten. Oregon is taking on Ohio State, the Ohio State University. I did have the pleasure of speaking there. Shout out to Dan Tudor, national recruiting expert. Had the chance to present on how colleges should use our find a balance techniques. Who do you have winning, Oregon versus Ohio State?
Ohio State.
Okay, so that's a money line pick for Ohio State because I don't know the spread. And also Washington versus Michigan. You tell me that Michigan disappoints every year. The data doesn't lie. But is this the year that Michigan starts off? He can't lose that first game. He can't do it. You got to pick Michigan, right, Coach? He can't lose the first game to a Pac-12 team, right? He can't. For those at home who can't see, Mike has not stopped laughing. So I'm going to think he actually thinks Washington is going to upset.
I think Washington will upset Michigan.
That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. I'm putting a money line bet on just out of spite.
Is the game in Michigan? At Michigan?
I believe the game is in Michigan.
I'll change that.
I don't have it in front of me.
I'll change that. It's at Michigan. The home team wins that.
All right. And then September 25th, Wisconsin is taking on Notre Dame. Again, Notre Dame, you got whatever you feel about them, they play everybody.
They do.
So what do you think about Wisconsin, Notre Dame?
I think Wisconsin wins this game. I think they go into South Bend and win. And as far as Notre Dame is concerned, that was one of the 2 schools I wanted my son to go to. I had 2 choices. As a father, Notre Dame or Naval Academy. That's what I was hoping for before he even got recruited, because I would have been happy with the 40 years after graduation, not the 4 years you're there. So Notre Dame and Naval Academy sets you up for 40 years after you graduate. That's, you walk into a job interview and you put your resume down, or you got your graduation ring from one of those 2, and hands down, you're the top candidate. So shout out to Notre Dame and what they do, but I honestly believe Wisconsin pulls this one off.
All right. So with that, the projected major bowl teams from the Big Ten, in my humble opinion, Ohio State and Wisconsin. What say you, Coach?
Stop at those 2.
Did you say stop?
Yeah, stop at those 2. Just stop. Ohio State, Wisconsin is it. That's it in the conference.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Big Ten for our preview episode?
I don't. I mean, again, I just like to recap the Big Ten story that seems to happen every year. Michigan falters, and and Iowa falters, and that's it.
All right. Well, good luck to all of the Big Ten, and hey, Coach Locks, good luck to you, sir. We're rooting for you.
Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project, is releasing a book this fall called Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. The goal of this book is to give greater insight into student-athlete motivation to improve student-athlete academic and athletic success through the lens of Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic journey, from being an underperforming student-athlete to an academic and athletic leader. This book is also designed to be a guide for student athletes, parents, teachers, coaches, administrators, and anyone else who has a passion to help student athletes succeed academically and athletically. You can pre-order your copy of the book directly from our website at www.ckasaveproject.org. This book is scheduled for release in the fall of 2021.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast as we do our preseason college football episodes and segments. And this is a unique segment, and I hope educators and coaches and fans really take heed to what we're going to talk about. The USA Today did an excellent article on the top 3 highest paid public employees in the country. And the majority of them, 80% of the states in our fine union, the highest paid state employee is either a college football coach or a college basketball coach. And I sent this list out to Coach Franchise for him to peruse, and I kind of want to give him an opportunity to say his piece, because there's a couple of situations that will cause me to have a patented Coach Adams rant, as I have been known to do. But for this, looking at the top 3 highest paid public employees, what jumped out at you, Coach?
Nothing jumped out at me. I expected it in most places. I didn't know it was 80%, though. I mean, I knew those big towns, like I knew Alabama, big program. I knew that was happening. California, Arkansas. I knew Connecticut because of the story before. They've had that with Jim Calhoun was there. That was one of the biggest things. I did not expect Hawaii.
Now, in Hawaii's defense, they only listed 2 public employees, which is another story for another day. And that was mentioned in the article. And for those of you who are doing the math at home and carrying the 40 states, the highest paid public employee is either a college football or basketball coach. And in some of those cases, Coach, sometimes the guy's not even coaching there anymore.
No, he's not. He's not. He moved on. He got the Barry Bonds contract.
Yeah, because in Colorado, Mel Tucker is now the head coach, formerly of the University of Colorado. Now he's the head coach of Michigan State. Right. Preseason prediction last in their division. But again,
they still got to pay that contract.
So I have to go to South Carolina. That's the first place I want to go to, because my needle is kind of stuck there because of Dabo Swinney and some of the things he has said in terms of student athlete motivation, NIL, and some of the things that they've done. So in the state of South Carolina, the highest paid public employee is William Dabo Swinney with an average annual salary of $9.3 million. The second highest paid public employee is Coach Muschamp at South Carolina at $4.4 million. And the third highest paid public employee is not Don Staley, who actually wins something, but it's actually, again, according to the USA Today, this is where I got my source from, Earl Grant, head coach, College of Charleston, making $651,000. And man, I don't want to get overly political. I'm not trying to do that. That's not what we do. We have some fun and so forth. But there is a push across the country to defund police departments. And I'm not going into the whole sin of that. I'm just thinking about schools. And the people in the schools that I've talked to, as somebody who's worked in education for over 30 years, some of the best people who've helped the most kids are our school resource officers. They build relationships, they help mediate, they're a big help. So for somebody who's worked in the public school system, man, our resource officers have done a yeoman's effort throughout my career. So I'm not mad at anybody's bag. You are worth whatever somebody wants to pay you.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking, especially for our struggling student athletes, our underfunded and undersupported academic departments. Man, if you could reallocate some of that loot, I mean, $9 million to one guy, and you're talking about cutting sports and you're doing all of these other things. I'd like to see some kind of reallocation and see what else we can provide, because that's just a lot of loot, and that's only South Carolina. We haven't gone through, you know, Pennsylvania, where James Franklin is making $5.6 million, and then a member of his staff, the head coach of the University of Pittsburgh, is making 3.2, and then the third highest paid public employee is the Veteran Benefits Administrating Human Resources Manager, and that person makes $700,000. It's just, man, if we can reallocate some funds, I just think it'll help folks out. Coach, what do you think, sir?
I think, well, first of all, again, free market, we talk about getting what you can. We are good with that. And I understand. And I'm not knocking anybody's salary. I'm not going to say not. I'm glad you can get it. Hey, if you can get it, you can get it. We all want to sign for more. And we all got to do what's best for our family. And these guys are making sure they're doing best for their family and their family's family and their future family, which if that's the case, so be it. But you as a state cannot complain to me. You as a state cannot come back to me and say you can't do things when you're willing to do that. Like, if you're willing, this guy's a state employee, and as a state employee, you're fine with them making that money. If you're fine with them making that money, you should be fine with finding money for other things. Let's talk about it. I say in my meetings with every parent, if you know the name of every coach your kid has had growing up, and you don't know one of his teachers' name, you send in the wrong message. So if we're talking about this, we're talking about education, right? These kids are supposed to be going to get education. They get a free education, free education, free education. That's what they're saying. Be happy with it. Before we had this name, image, and likeness, be happy with the free education. That coach's salary is an investment to whatever they're making on the back end as a university, whatever they're doing. And they're not paying a man $9 million to make $1 million. Let's talk about that. They're not doing it. Okay. So they're making money, and if they're breaking even or whatever, but they're increasing their enrollment when they go to bowl games. They increase their enrollment. They're building new facilities. Like, we know what the money's coming back to. All right. It was always coming back to everything but the student athlete. So don't cry that you can't do things and you got to make cuts in certain areas. I'm not saying what he should do with his money, but if I was at that level and I'm making $9 million a year, I might take $1 million and then publicly invest it into school resource officers. I might go to the school system in the state and say, hey, let's increase that. Let's increase their training. Let's add one more guidance counselor for every school, and only allow that guidance counselor, let the guidance counselor be a guidance counselor, not a paper pusher. Actually allow them to go out and set those set meetings and sit down and talk to kids and have conversations. They have nothing to do with paperwork, because now our guidance counselors, their job is just to get you out of school. That's their job. It's the dots. They cross the T's and dot the I's and get you out of school. They don't have the time to invest. They want to, but they really rarely have the time to invest in building the relationships and finding out who their kids are and what their kids like and their dislikes. And to see Skip Holtz is on this list, have mercy. 700,000 at Louisiana Tech. Whoo!
I am so glad you brought up the state employee piece, because we both work for the state. We both work for the state of Maryland. And as a coach, I was always brought up that I make my money in education, but whatever money I get in my extracurricular activities, that's not my money. That kind of goes to build the program, whether that is investing in getting better uniforms, or helping a kid get something, or a family get something that may not be able to do that, or, hey, the assistant coach who does everything for you and does it on their own time. Hey, if I can get you a shirt or something, just say thank you for the work that you do. And yes, my needle stuck on Dabo based upon some of the work I did with my doctoral work. When Delaware State's athletic department is funded fully only on $12 million, and that includes academic support. That includes all of the things that the bigger schools get, and one person makes as much almost as the entire athletic department. That gives me pause. It gives me pause when so much money is put in things like lazy rivers and barbershops and video lockers, and none of that sustains academic motivation. It gives me pause. When I hear coaches say with NIL that, yeah, although the quarterback's going to potentially make some money, it should be all put in one pool so the offensive lineman can get something. And then on their end, we don't see or hear about that being replicated. It just gives me pause. So again, we are not in anybody's bag. They're public employees, so their salary is posted. Our salaries are posted.
Yes,
Feel
sir.
free to go to any public website and see how much we make as educators. But anything you'd like to say as we close this segment out and this portion of our 2021-2022 college football preview episodes?
For other reasons, Dabo comes off very red to me, so I don't really like a lot of things he say about what kids should be able to do and what he got real political for a while, and I could tell you I would never send my child there. Just going there, I'm being completely honest. I could never allow my kid to play for a man like that, not from the way he's talking. And I'm not saying he's the only one, but he's the only one that got the balls to come out and publicly say, this is who I am, this is how I feel, and I don't care if you don't care. But yet we're running and sending players to him. We won't send them to Loxley, who will take care of him, but we'll send them to Dabo. And to me, if you're good enough, you're going to get to the NFL no matter where you go. You know, I think Maryland won one bowl when my son was there. They won one bowl game. And he made it to the NFL, got a pension. So you don't need to go to Clemson to get to NFL. You don't need to go to Alabama to get to the NFL. If you are good enough, you know, they will find you. And every year there's guys coming from D2, D3 schools that if you have the measurables, they will definitely look at you. And I just think that when it comes down to it, that 40 years, like I don't never see any alumni talking about Dabo Swinney. I see the guys talking about what they learned in Alabama, how good Alabama was for. You hear them all the time talking about it. They're on ESPN all the time. I got this when I was at Alabama, and I ain't heard nobody talk about Clemson.
Well, on that note, I will always say, make sure student athletes, you find the balance, because when the ball stops and the game stops, and to quote a line from Rocky, and everybody stops chanting your name, you still got a lot of living to do. So if you can use athletics and not let athletics use you, I think that's the best way to go. And thank you for tuning in to the Odd Coaches Podcast as we preview the 2021-2022 college football season.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Follow the Odd Coaches Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at CoachesOdd, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share the Odd Coaches Podcast. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. And don't forget to follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.